still a very confused picture on the ground in Idlib. We've actually crossed into the province over the last couple of days and had a look for ourselves around the border area and in Idlib city centre. And it's very clear that despite the fact that Idlib is supposed to be this de-escalation zone under that agreement that was drawn up by Russia, Turkey and Iran, that was supposed to see a decrease in the violence on the ground, that there has in fact been in the last week or so an escalation of violence. So Syrian regime and Russian airstrikes have continued, and now it seems there are indications that there has actually been a ground offensive too, as the Syrian regime try and take back some of that territory in Idlib. And that's critical for a number of reasons, not least because Idlib has been a sort of holding area, if you like, throughout the last couple of years of the Syrian war, and it's an area that we've seen a lot of people either flee to from other areas in the country where fighting's happened, or the regime themselves have forcibly displaced and moved them to this province. And now this province, it seems, is coming under Syrian regime attack. So it leaves a big question: where exactly do those people go? And certainly the people I've been speaking to in Idlib are very, very concerned about the security situation. As for the actual fighting itself, rebel forces have released a statement today under the banner of the Free Syrian Army, saying that various groups have come together to launch a counter-offensive. It's a pretty dangerous situation for everyone on the ground right now in Idlib, because it seems that when it comes to the de-escalation zone, all bets are off. The fighting on both sides clearly very openly going on, and as I said, that raises a massive security concern for the civilians in that area. A couple of million people or so, a huge number of which are already people displaced from elsewhere in Syria.
Absolutely. We'll be digging down into that fighting later in the programme, Sarah. But on the diplomatic side of this, we've heard from Turkey's foreign minister just yesterday talking about his concerns, and President Erdogan, of course, today. What else has been said, and what can be done by Turkey or other countries to try and bring about some kind of diplomatic resolution to this?
Well, there's a reported phone call that took place between President Erdogan and the Russian President Vladimir Putin about the situation in Syria. There has been a lot of tough talking over the last couple of days and weeks, as we've seen that de-escalation zone very clearly breaking down on the ground in the Idlib province. And both sides have been talking tough, calling on the other sides to be pushing the factions that they're backing on the ground. So for Russia, that's the Syrian regime. For Turkey, that's the opposition groups that are operating on the ground, to try and rein them in and get them to keep to their side of the bargain. And there's also very clearly a lot of work to be done in the lead-up of another round of diplomatic talks that will be taking place later this month. You've got the Sochi talks that will be taking place in Russia. You've also got Geneva talks that are coming up. None of those in the past have ever really managed to garner any real change on the ground. And again, coming back to speaking to civilians in the Idlib province right now, there isn't really much faith in this diplomatic process. Yes, there's a lot of tough talking from politicians when issues like this are highlighted, but what we've seen over the course of the 7-year war is the death toll rise. And what civilians are saying right now is they really have been pushed right up to the border with Turkey. That's a big concern for Turkey, of course, about what that will mean and what implications that could mean for the future for them. They've already hosted more refugees from Syria than any other country in the world. More than 3 million Syrian refugees are here in Turkey. But more critically, on the other side of the border, those Syrians that are now facing violence all around them, that have been boxed in essentially by that violence. And every day at the moment, we're seeing that violence escalating between both sides as they try and keep territory and retake territory in the province of Idlib.